My name's Sam. I'm an addict. And I want to thank the committee and whoever thought that I had something to share. It's an humbling experience to be here with time. One of the things, I was born in 1953, same year this program was started, as to my understanding. And I used to think that God of my understanding knew I was coming, so he prepared a place for me to go. I am 65 years old. I have not had an opportunity or justified an opportunity to use since July 4th, 1986. I wanted to start out by, in my early days clean, I started chairing meetings right about 30 days clean. People, when I came in, they got you involved. I had a sponsor at the time. I called him up and he said, "Sam, what's going on today?" I said, "Man, I'm bored." He said, "What's the problem?" I said, "I go to work, go to meeting, go to work, go to meeting, go to work, go to meeting. I am about tired of this." And he said, "Well, go to meetings early and stay late." I said, "Didn't I just tell you?" He said, "Yeah, Sam, I heard you. But see, why get a guy and you're not going to follow his lead?" So the thing about it is that I was faced with a dilemma from the beginning. I'm saying whether I go his way or my way. Well, I found out somewhere down the road on the way to Narcotics Anonymous that my way just did not work. So I followed his suggestions. I went to meetings early. Now I've got to give you a little background, so when I start talking about the different manifestations, you know where I'm coming from. Because yeah, it's true that drugs got me here. But understand, baby, there's some other things that are gonna come into play along the way. Okay. So I went to meetings early, and when I got to meetings early, they got me involved. One of the first things they taught me how to do was to make coffee. Now, I knew how to make a lot of other different drinks, but none of them were coffee. And so at the meeting place, they had this big coffee urn, and they had 2 spouts on it. And I remember, that was a challenge for me because I never made coffee in a little coffee pot. I'm talking about in this big thing here. So he said, "Come here, let me show you." So they showed me how to make coffee, and I made that coffee, and people were sitting in the meeting, and they were drinking on that coffee I made, and I wanted to know how it tastes. So I said, "How's that coffee?" "Pretty good." I did that. I did. Yeah. See, they know, my sponsor knew if I went there, they would get me involved in the program. I learned how to set up for a meeting. I learned how to clean up after the meeting, right? They started putting readings in my hand, right? They got me involved. And then after the meeting, we used to go out and eat. I don't know about y'all, but I'm 6 feet tall. When I came in the program, I maybe weighed about 150. Soaking wet. Yeah, I'm about 250 now. I had an appetite. And we used to go and we used to eat. And the funny thing about it is I started finding out who was genuine and who was not. Who was just not talking the talk, but those that were walking the walk. And I found out who I wanted to be in my inner circle. And I started creating a network of people in recovery. And I've never been bored since. Follow me? Yeah. So I want you to understand something. The drugs brought me here. And it talks about we suffer from the disease of addiction. I want you to understand something, that The disease of addiction encompasses obsessive compulsive behavior. Once I get that fixed thought in my mind and then I act on that thought, I can't stop to save my life. And that still prevails itself today if I'm not very careful. And understand that I have not been very careful during my clean time. Okay? Different manifestations. I'm talking about, and we hear it all the time. They call them, some people call them adjunct addiction. Yeah. Some people call them other addictions. I suffer from one disease. See, Narcotics Anonymous taught me one disease, one program. A lot of symptoms, a lot of manifestation. And as I grow older in recovery, I'm learning that the same rules apply. That the disease, the characters, to keep it simple, is about obsessive compulsive behavior. Now, what kind of behaviors am I talking about? Sex. Yeah. I used to think I was doing something when I was on that package and I was having sex. Now, part of that was an illusion. And if you keep doing that, what's going to happen is you're not going to even want no sex. Or you think you're better than you really are. Right? You think you're doing something, you're not really doing anything. You don't believe me, ask your partner sometime. Okay, they're honest with you, they'll tell you. Gambling. Now, I was around before the Georgia lottery came about. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that. It's a different manifestation. And see, I heard this a long time ago. I heard, it's a guy from my home group, and yeah, I'm from Macon, Georgia. And when I came to Macon, it was very few. We was a close-knit family back in Macon in early recovery. So I might jump around a little bit, but hopefully it'll all come together. But the thing about it is that I needed that. I needed that closeness. I needed that camaraderie. I needed that fellowship. And we were able to hang together. If somebody was missing in our little group, then we go looking for them. We go to the houses and if needed, we say, hey, come on, get up out of that bed, get up out of that house. I know you in there. Come on out. Let's go to a meeting. I don't see that happening that much today. But the gambling thing, through the years, and see, my disease is insidious. It's cunning, baffling, power. You know what? When we talk about self-deceit, that's why we can't do this thing by ourselves. I mean, because between here and here, I can justify anything, and it makes sense. And see, I heard this not only from other people, but I heard it in my own head that at least I'm not doing any dope. So it was this guy in our fellowship. He spoke one time, and he came up and he spoke, and he came up with a bag, a garbage bag. And that garbage bag was half full with lottery tickets. He said he came into the program, and see, I didn't pay much attention at the time. And when Archie asked me what I wanted to call this talk, I said, what goes around comes around. And it does. But when he talked about it, because see, I didn't have an issue with that at that time, right? So when he came and he put that sack of lottery tickets up there, and he told on his addiction, and he talked about how he played so much money. And then they started not only going with the cash 3, but they came with the noonday, then they came with the evening, and he was playing all the time, trying to get that fix, get that hit. And he got caught up in the compulsion of buying those tickets to the point where it was breaking him. It was causing trouble in his life. And if I'm not mistaken, addiction is continued use in spite of adverse or lethal consequences. So he continued to do that in spite of the consequences until he hit bottom. Now understand, bottom is where you stop digging. Okay? And some of us dig real deep. I didn't pay that much attention. But see, me and some of the guys, we get together on a regular basis and we play a little poker. Truth be told. All right? These are fellas in recovery. And we try to keep a handle on it, and while we fellowship and we have that camaraderie during the time, but the underlying thing there is the gambler. Right? Then we want to move on to, I heard a speaker, and see, if there's nothing else you get from what I say today, I want you to pay attention that when somebody shares with you their experience, strength, and hope, when somebody gives you that gut level honest sharing, that you pay attention, because it's true that what goes around comes around. It's not my day to go through it, but I have a day that I will go through. Guy came up one time and he was from Atlanta, and I remember him sharing one time. He said when he got into the program, his credit got good. So they sent him one of these cards in the mail saying that you can apply. You have a certain amount of money that's available for you. And he said, all right, I have arrived. And he had a credit card with a $5,000 limit. I didn't pay that much attention at the time. But the guy said that he went to the mall that day and maxed out that card. He looked good when he got through. You understand? He was sharp. I mean, he had the best of the best. He looked good in it. And then the bill came. And he looked at that bill and he asked himself, said, what they want me to do with this? Didn't they know I was an addict when they sent me that? And I didn't pay attention. But when I came into Narcotics Anonymous, I didn't have any credit. My credit was shot. Matter of fact, I remember that learning very early on in my recovery that money was a trigger for me. And I remember calling my sponsor and telling him I had a close call one night. It's my first night out of treatment. And I went to a meeting of the other fellowship. And during that day, I was going back and forth on my television. And it was a candlelight meeting. And in that meeting, they cut off the lights and they lit the candle. And what was spiritual about that, I didn't have to worry about what Sister Girl had on over there, how good she was looking. You know, I could hear the message. But I was fresh out of treatment. It was my first payday. It was on a Friday night, and I was right around the corner from my stomping ground. And I couldn't hear nothing those people were saying. My pocket was doing a dance. And in my brain, Mr. Hyde was talking about, let's go. And for some reason, I stayed in that meeting, and I remember saying a little prayer. And I don't know what exactly I said, but I know that that prayer was sincere. It was like the God of my understanding reached down and he grabbed that monkey and he took it off my back. And I called my sponsor the next day, and my sponsor said, you got a bank account? I said, no, I bounced a few checks when I was out there, so I don't know, nobody let me open no bank account. He said, do the footwork. First bank I went to, I still got that account today. You follow me? And he told me some other things that made a whole lot of sense to me. But see, what happens when we get complacent, we start to vary, or we start to deviate from what's working. And what happened is, when I opened up that bank account, I did not have an ATM card. so I didn't have 24-hour access to my money, right? I would write my checks out the night before to pay my bills before I got paid. So by the time my check hit the bank, the bills were paid, and I still didn't have no money, but the bills were paid, right? I would fill up the car, and that would stop me from stopping by the filling station where some of my people hung out at. I used to smoke back in the day, and I imagine they're going to put that in the literature at some point, but that's another story right now. But I want you to understand something. I wouldn't have to stop by the convenience store. So he took care, and following his instructions, he hit a lot of bases, and it kept me from a lot of triggers, a lot of things that might cause me to want to, right? How did it deviate? Before I knew it, I had a pocket full of credit cards, right? And I had discovered a long time ago that when I go, I like to go in style, right? So the thing about it is that, and my mom called attention to that one time. She said, because I became a convention junkie. Every time there was a convention, I was gone. It wasn't about the convention. It was about my spending. First stop, merchandise. It was nothing for me to drop off a couple $100 at the merchandise thing. Serious. Then I got to pay for the room. And then when I go, I like to eat good today. Right? I don't know about y'all, but I like to eat real good. And I want to go to some of the finest restaurants sometime. And then my mama pulled my coattail. She said, son, when you go to all these places, do you spend a lot of money? I said, yeah, ma'am. She said, do you think you need to check that? I said, Mom, I'm going for recovery. Mom said, baby, I understand that. But could you be using that money to do something else? And think about that. Now, don't get me wrong. It is wonderful to go to meetings where we meet and we share our experience. What I spend and how I show out, that is my stuff. And that's the stuff I got to share. You follow me? Yeah, let's go to the restaurant. Let's go eat over here, where the tab gonna be at least $50 to $100 for two people. Okay. I digress. What it says in the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous said the physical aspect of our disease is the compulsive use of drugs, the inability to stop using once we have started. The mental aspect of our disease is obsession or overpowering desire, even when we are destroying our lives. The spiritual aspect, or spiritual part of our disease is our total self-centeredness. Me. We felt that we could stop whenever we wanted to, despite all evidence to the contrary. So in the spending, in the lottery tickets, in the gambling, I find myself getting very compulsive at times. I find myself spending more than I had intended. Does this sound familiar? I find myself charging more money on those cards than I had intended. And in spite of that, I would justify it. Different manifestations, same disease, people, right? I remember early on, and I brought my tools so to kind of keep me centered, because, you know, we have a tendency to get scattered and jump from one point and go off on tangents and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of to help me to stay centered, right? And I dislike people who misquote. That's my stuff. The basic text. You follow me? So that's why I still read it. After 32 years, I still read it. And don't want to take for granted that I know something that maybe that I don't know. It says, until we let go of our reservations, no matter what they are, the foundation of our recovery is in danger. Reservations rob us of the benefits that this program has to offer. In ridding ourselves of our reservations, we surrender. I want you to understand that's a continuous thing that we need to do. I don't want to surrender today and not surrender tomorrow. You follow me? I can't forget where I came from. I still go to meetings, people. It was a friend of mine that's in the program. Matter of fact, I work in the field of recovery and have been doing so for like 28 years. And a friend of mine, one of my ex-clients, as a matter of fact, came up to the Still Clean. He came up to this. He likes to travel and all that now. And he came back and he said, "Man, did you know they're having a speaker fest?" And he was all excited and all that. And said, "I threw your name in the hat." I'm saying, okay. And I appreciate him, right? Because this is some of the stuff that I need to get out of me a long time ago. But because of time, we have a tendency to let our pride get in the way. About that credit card thing. I don't have a credit card in my pocket today. I'm going through some reconstruction stuff with my credit, to be honest with you, right? Because I got to the point where the only solution was to stop, which makes all other recovery possible. But as long as I'm trying to pick and choose and tap over here and tap over there, what I'm finding out is that I'm continuing to lose. I'm continuing to dig that hole deeper because I am still very compulsive in my behavior. I ain't using no dope. But there are other manifestations, right? Now, my gambling, I buy a lottery ticket every once in a while, but nothing like I used to. Serious as a heart attack about that. I buy a scratch off every once in a while, but nothing like I used to. And my expectations are different about that. You follow me? I want you to understand something. There's other compulsive behavior that we fall victim to. I mean, eating, right? I don't know about y'all, but my appetite came back with a vengeance when I got clean, right? But I go to the gym every once in a while now. I do a lot of walking and I watch what I eat. You understand? Because what I want you to understand is I've seen a lot of people die in recovery from various things that came from eating disorder. It ain't no joke. Whether it's anorexia, whether it's bulimia, whether it's obesity, whatever the case may be, you understand, I need to keep a check on that. I am a diabetic. I got high blood pressure. It is hereditary, right? Understand, I'm not responsible for the disease. I am responsible for the recovery. Oh, I found this in my stuff. Anybody know what that is? Before they came up with the basic text, this was it, right? When I first got clean, I want you to understand something that I had justified to my sponsor that I need to go to this family event. Called him up. I said, "Hey, man, look here, my family having a cookout. And I haven't been around them while I was active. You know, I feel like I need to be there." I was looking for him to say, "No, don't go." He didn't say that. He said, "Okay. You got a little white book?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Stick it in your back pocket." It fits. Very good. You say, "You got some phone numbers?" I said, "Yeah." You say, "Stick them in your back pocket." Okay. You say, "When you get there, get you something to drink. Soda, water, juice, something to drink." So it's very, if you're there and you got something to drink, it's unlikely that people will walk up to you and say, "You want something to drink?" Okay. Then he gave me a hit. He said, if things get too icky sticky, leave. Ta-da! I mean, he gave me permission. And then see, what happens is our minds will manufacture reasons why we should stay. Right? But he gave me permission, and him giving me permission is what I needed to hear at the time. So what I want you to understand, that him giving me permission gave me some relief. So when I got there, I followed his instructions. But I stayed through the whole thing. And I saw something very familiar. I saw me and other people. And I have not found a reason to frequent events like that anymore. I go every once in a while, but I have to check my spiritual condition when I go. I have to check my motives for everything that I do, even today. You follow me? And if I can't check it, I got two of my sponsors right here. I don't mind calling them and being, because see, sponsorship is a two-way street. You follow me? That one over there told me this morning, man, you supposed to be ready. Now he riding with me, right? And he on time. I'm running around the house trying to get my stuff together. He said, you supposed to be ready. I said, you right, Daddy. All right. Ain't that what I said, man? That's my ball there. All right. Understand, as we move along in recovery, or in recovering relapse, it states we can never fully recover. And see, like I said, I've been in the field of addiction recovery for a long time. And the thing about it is I get some, and I disclose that to some of my clients because I want you to understand, I still have to go to meetings. And if you see me in a meeting, I want you to understand, I'm not coming to check on you, I'm getting mine. Right? But if you come in there wrong, I'm gonna step to you and I'm gonna tell you about it. Okay? All right, but we can never fully recover, no matter how long we stay clean. Complacency is the enemy of members with substantial clean time. If we remain complacent for long, the recovery process ceases. I've seen that happen. See, I learned not only from the newcomer, I learned from those people that go in and out. I pay attention because I don't ever want to think that I know it all. You follow me? That's always a new lesson for me to learn. The disease will manifest, let me say that again. The disease will manifest apparent symptoms in us. Denial returns, along with obsession and compulsion. See, my wife would tell me about my gambling. We went to Vegas a couple of times. And she would get upset with me because I was at the machines or at the table, trying to come up with something I already had. Huh? And she was talking about the time that I didn't spend with her. The second trip to Vegas was different. We went on a midnight tour and I saw a lot of things in Vegas I didn't see the first night. Right? A lot of attractions that we did that I didn't even pay attention to because I was busy with my obsession. Am I making sense? Only a complete and total acceptance of first step, and that's being honest with yourself, can save us. We must totally surrender ourselves to the program. Is that right? When do we stop doing that? How much time am I going to let? 15 minutes? What if I do it in 10? I knew it didn't close. All right. Told you I do this for a living, man. I can talk all day. But ANA has taught me to be responsible today, so I try to do that to the best of my ability. If you haven't got this book, Living the Program, Living, I'm sorry, that's why I bring it up. The journey continues. Living clean. Journey continues. I'm going to read this part. It says, thrill seeking and adventure. Long after the obsession to use is lifted, many of us still seek a rush in other ways. The drive for excitement leads us to live full and exciting lives rich with adventure. We are unafraid to take risks and pursue the opportunity to do the things we always wish we could. Sometimes, though, it seems like we just get strung out on our own adrenaline, whether it's gambling, sex, or creating drama in our lives. We can ramp up so fast that it's hard to scale back down. And understand, when I've got concerned people around me that are knowledgeable about addiction and the recovery process, you understand, that makes it harder for me to do. I've got to stay in touch with my source of strength. NA is my source of strength. If I unplug from it for too long, guess what? Just like that cell phone, it's gonna run down and it's gonna go dead. I don't want my recovery to be like that. I've seen people try to come back, and it's very difficult. One of the things that when you have time in the program, pride gets in the way. Ego, right? I remember a time, boy, when I used to take you to me. Now I'm gonna have to call you and take me to him? Or to process my steps with you instead of you process your steps with me? Y'all understand what I'm saying? I was told that the field of recovery or addiction recovery was one of the hardest fields to work in if you're a recovering addict. So I am very mindful of staying humble. I thought about this today, and I thought about what I would speak about. And I thought about the fact that this thing is going to be telecast or broadcast all over the fellowship. And what I did about that is I prayed. Because I want you to understand that spiritual connection must be maintained. So I don't get so full of me that I can't share with you the truth. I'm an addict. My name is Sam, and I'm in the process, and I'm not at the end. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Awesome. That was amazing. I need you all, trying to hold back these tears and stuff. This is a beautiful thing. It really is. I'm so grateful for you all. Our next speaker is going to be Mark B. Mark.